On the evening of November 9, 1911, two trains collided in a cutting 2 miles east of a small English railway town called Havestun, and 11 people died. The official inquiry fixed the moment of impact with the precision railways demanded even in grief, from the smashed pocket watch of the driver and the signal box register together, 14 minutes past 6. That same evening, on the platform at Havestun station, the great cast-iron clock above the waiting room, wound every Monday by the stationmaster and famous locally for never drifting more than a few seconds, stopped. It stopped at 6:14. It was 2 miles from the wreck. Nothing touched it. No tremor reached it. It simply stopped, at the minute 11 of its passengers died, and no one was ever able to make it run at that station again. That last part is documented in a way these stories rarely are, because the railway company treated the dead clock as an equipment fault and equipment faults generated paperwork. The clock was sent to the company's contracted clockmaker, a firm in Sheffield, twice, in 1912 and again in 1913. Both work orders survive. Both say the same maddening thing. On the bench in Sheffield, the clock ran perfectly. Cleaned, oiled, tested for a fortnight, it kept flawless time. Reinstalled above the Havestun waiting room, it would run for a few hours, sometimes a day, and then stop, always, at 14 minutes past 6. Not at 6:15. Not at random. The Sheffield firm's second report ends with a note the clerk perhaps should not have written into an official document: the fault, in our judgment, is not in the clock but in the station, and we can offer no service for that. The railway gave up. By the 1920s the stopped clock had become a memorial, informally at first and then officially, and a small brass plaque was fixed beneath it naming the 11 dead. Photographs of the platform across 4 decades all show the same thing: the black hands resting at 6:14, through 2 wars, through the station's slow decline, through everything. Now hold on to the year 1932, because it is where this account stops being a sad story about a broken clock. In 1932 the station was refurbished, and the clock, purely decorative by then, was lightened for remounting on a repaired wall. The works were removed. The entire mechanism, the movement, the gears, the escapement, the pendulum, everything that makes a clock, was taken out, crated, and sold. The sale is in the station's inventory ledger for that year, item by item. What went back up on the wall was a shell, an iron case, a painted face, and 2 hands fixed at 6:14 with a set screw. From 1932 onward, the Havestun station clock was not a stopped clock. It was a picture of one. It could no more tick than a photograph can. The station survived the closures of the 1960s by a few years, and by November of 1961 it was a quiet halt with one aging stationmaster, a man named Arthur Penhale, who had held the post for 2 decades and knew the clock's history exactly, having signed the inventory himself as a young clerk. On the evening of November 9, 1961, 50 years to the day after the wreck, Penhale was on the platform with 2 waiting passengers, a married couple whose names are in the report he filed, when all 3 of them heard, above the waiting room door, clear in the cold air, a clock begin to tick. Penhale's report is written in the flat voice of a railwayman with 30 years of service, and it is worse for it. The ticking was slow, heavy, and regular, the sound of a large pendulum movement, the sound the clock had made before 1911. The minute hand, he wrote, was moving. All 3 watched it leave 6:14, where it had rested for half a century, and begin, smoothly, to keep time. Penhale fetched the steps and opened the access door in the side of the case, with the couple watching from below, and this is the sentence in his report that the regional office underlined in red pencil. The case was empty, as per inventory of 1932, and the ticking continued, and the hands continued to advance, and I closed the door because I did not care to keep looking at it. The clock ran all night. Penhale, unable to bring himself to stay, locked the station and came back before dawn with a colleague from the next town as a witness. The ticking had stopped. The hands stood at 6:14. Whether they had gone all the way around and come home, or run for exactly 12 hours, or simply returned, there was no way to tell. What Penhale learned 3 days later, and added to his file in a different ink, is the detail that turned a local ghost story into the small, cold case it remains. He learned it from a newspaper. The last living survivor of the 1911 wreck, a woman named Edith Marsh, who had been 8 years old in the third carriage, had died in a nursing home 60 miles away, on the evening of November 9, 1961. The home's register recorded her time of death: 14 minutes past 6. The clock had not started at the anniversary. It had started at the moment the wreck finished taking its last passenger, and it had kept her company through the night, and then it had stopped again, at the only time it has ever known. Haves Tun Station closed in 1965 and the building is a private house now, but the clock was saved, and it hangs today in the county museum, case, face, hands, and nothing else, with the 1932 inventory page displayed beside it precisely so that visitors understand what they are looking at. The set screw is gone, the hands rest at 6:14 on their own. The museum's night staff are asked, on their incident forms, to note anything unusual, and in 40 years there have been only 2 entries, both in November, both one word long, both written by attendants who did not know about the other. Ticking. There is no mechanism inside. There never will be again. It stopped for 11 people and started for 1, and whatever is keeping time in that empty iron case is patient, and accurate, and knows better than any of us that 6:14 always comes around again.